Welcome back to the Community Strategy Podcast. I'm Deb Shell, your host here, and I've interviewed over 100 community leaders, business owners, and facilitators who give you the backstage pass to their community strategy. I'm a creator turned community builder, and after failing my launch in 2020, I discovered I had a passion for community events, cultivating belonging, and developing a strategy for success. As the author of Creator to Community Builder, Find Calm While Building Your Online Community, I encourage you to dig deep and go beyond the surface level marketing and understand your ideal member. As a community and marketing strategist, I've helped over 70 business owners in developing and implementing a launch plan for an online community course or membership. On this podcast, I share interviews with community builders just like you who have a message and who want to bring a group of humans together for a purpose. So let's get started. Hey there, and this is Deb. I'm just popping in before this episode to give you a preview of what you're about to hear. So again, I'm splitting this episode into two parts, and part one is a recording from our recent member meetup inside the Community Builders with Purpose space. And a friend of mine, Brian, came to talk about how he's been cultivating engagement authentically in his community, Third Nature, and also during his conscious conversations that I've been lucky to participate in over the last, I think 2 years at this point. He has a global worldwide community that he's cultivated. And so he dives into like the backstory of one of the things that a lot of people, when I have clients coming to me to get clarity on their community concept, they're like, I'm asking, well, what's your purpose? What's your why? Why are you doing this? And Brian kind of goes through the journey of how he got to this place by questioning like what he was doing in his job and then he quit his job and he found another job as a ski instructor, and that brought some experiences and just a lot of different things that he ended up doing to get him to where he's leading these retreats and having adult summer camp and meeting with people on a global level online every week with the conscious conversations. So he dives into a little bit of background about that. And this is what we talk about when we say, what's your purpose? Because everyone has something. You have a unique story because nobody lived your life except you. So you're the only one that can share everything valuable that you've learned. And that's the benefit of connecting in shared wisdom and community and cultivating this our authentic connections and engagement. And so a lot of people, I'll say that might be, if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, I really need to improve my engagement in my community, listen to this episode because you're going to be surprised at some of the tips that we talk about and ideas and strategies that Brian has brought to the table. So enjoy the episode. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. If you're not a member of the Community Builders with Purpose space, grab the link either on the show notes or on the findcalmhere.com website and connect with us. Every month, I'm doing a little talk about the book that I wrote recently called Creator to Community Builder. So hope to see you there. Enjoy the episode, and I'll see you soon.
I have a marketing team. I have a program manager, and for me, I've realized because I didn't always work this way. Startup Island, I started with my good friend Josh. We were co-founders. Third Nature, again, it's really just like me as the driver of the business. And again, I work with a lot of people, but I consider myself more of a solo founder now. And that works better for me because I realize with business, I like working with people on specific projects with a specific start and end date, where it's like, it's not getting married. It's not like committing to like raise a baby together, which is what like building a business with a co-founder often feels like. It's let's work on this thing that we're both really passionate about, that we both bring something unique to the table to contribute. And let's like set a goal. Let's set an end date where we're going to, see how we did and reevaluate. So this is how I work with facilitators in conscious conversations for Third Nature Summer Camp, our reflection workshops, our custom experiences. Like there's a specific project with a specific scope, duration, and goals. And a lot of the people I work with and I've worked with over the last several years, we've worked on many projects together, many retreats, many workshops, many trainings. But we're constantly reevaluating and checking in. How is this feeling? How is this supporting our individual, unique, personal, and professional goals?
Yeah, I think that's a key part of your community strategy, what you were mentioning. What, a lot of the things that I talk with my clients about and try to help people understand is that ongoing memberships, like you described, are a big commitment. If you're going to do an ongoing monthly subscription or membership, it's a gigantic commitment. And so if you're not at the place financially or, time wise, you just don't have a lot of time, it's better to do these project based things, and it gives you the opportunity to stop and say, how did that go? Did we like it? Well, do we want to do it again? Instead of like automatically saying I have a membership and great, I have to do this forever. Like, when does it end? Like you're saying. So I really appreciated that. And I know you have a membership, so I want to jump to that in a little bit, but I'll give you a chance to respond.
So yeah, I think it's important. Like I want to double click on what you just said, because that is a big part of our community strategy. So I started building out a membership community through Circle, which I'm sure a lot of community builders use. And I really immersed myself in the Circle community of community builders. And I saw that all these people there, it just felt like there was this constant pressure to always be like adding value, to be creating value, to be drumming up engagement, right? Every day, every week, every month, in order to retain and grow membership. And after thinking about building out a membership community for months, I decided I don't want to do that. I decided I want to create specific programs like the Reflection Workshop series, like Third Nature Summer Camp, where like Third Nature Summer Camp, for example, like we're working on that year round, but like improving it, making it better. But, in the fall, like after camp, there's I debrief with all the facilitators, my program manager, like everyone who was involved, gather a ton of feedback, integrate that feedback, start thinking about improvements for next year. But then there's a nice like 3 or 4 month period when it's not top of mind, when we don't have to be like day, every week, every month, like pressing to like create value, because camp isn't until next summer.
Yeah.
So like there's that debrief period, gathering feedback and learning and integrating in like September. But then October, November, December is way more chill. And for me as a community builder, I like the seasonality. I would not thrive if my year was like this. If I was just every day, every week, every month, continuously like trying to drum up engagement and keep people engaged. I like building towards the big events. And then like, the late spring and summer is really intense and demanding. But for me and my personality, that seasonality works better than like what I think a membership community would demand. And again, like Conscious Conversations, that's our free weekly event. That is happening year round. But because it's free, it doesn't create that same pressure that I think a paid membership community creates if you're operating that year round.
Yeah, I think a
And
lot of
again,
people agree. And I felt when I had paid membership, and I know that clients have told me that they're like, well, am I creating enough value? Am I doing enough things?
yeah.
They didn't check in every day. And I think that these, while I like, community platforms and I work a lot with Mighty, um, I also think that we're not comparing or trying to be like social media. It's the opposite, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about more intentionality in connection. And so we're trying to eliminate the distractions of social media when we go to these intentional platforms. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
about how many people can come to my circle community or how many people are downloading resources or checking in or whatever. It's more about what are they getting out of this place for
Yeah.
themselves. And, you offer community is about connection. It's not necessarily value by like content. And I think a lot of people, when you say value, they attribute that to content. And I say, no, value could mean you and I are on a call and we're talking and we're giving value to each other. You're facilitating a conversation where you're letting other people, like you do on Fridays, where it's
Yeah.
just a space for us to talk about a topic with people that all want to talk about that topic. And it's
Yeah.
that simple. It doesn't have to be this complicated thing.
Well, and here's the best part, Deb. Those connections happen with you not even being present. That's the goal. That's my goal as a community builder, is to make me not irrelevant, right? But like kind of like as a community builder, I want to be able to someone explained community to me this way back in 2017, and it's had such a huge impact on Third Nature. You want to be able to remove yourself as the community builder, and the community will stay intact. The connections will continue to strengthen and deepen. So you want to kind of make yourself non-essential. And I know that might sound like counterintuitive to a lot of community builders because it requires like putting your ego aside. But
Yeah.
for me, my absolute favorite thing as a community builder is seeing or hearing about community members who met up or get on a weekly call or, you know, are in like an accountability group that they started together that I had nothing to do with. And they're hanging out, they're connecting outside of the community, but those connections were catalyzed in the community. So again, we do summer camps, right? We do adult summer camp weekends, and we've had people get married who met at camp. We've had best friends meet at camp. And that to me, like we get to create this experience where those connections happen and become possible. But then year round, you know, October through December, when I get to relax a little bit and kind of like step back, and um that's like the more chill time of the year for me, my community is still engaged. They're still talking. There's still like just as much chatter during those months, and connections happening and forming and strengthening between community members as during like our high season when camp is happening.
Why do you
And
think that's
again,
the case?
say it again.
Why do you think that's the case?
Well, because so I think it's about like the programming that we provide, sure, and the environment of camp. You know, some philosopher once said, like, you learn more about someone in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. So like camp is a place where like people get to play and meaningful connections happen. And again, we're very intentional about creating a program that catalyzes meaningful connections. But I think the biggest thing, the most important thing is that it's about the people, right? It's about bringing together people who want to connect meaningfully, deeply, who want to get beneath the surface, who maybe aren't having the kinds of conversations that they want to be having in their day-to-day lives. They want to go deeper. They want to have the kinds of conversations that we have in conscious conversations every Friday, but do it in real life at camp. And then they want to continue having those conversations after camp is over. So again, I think the biggest thing, the most important thing is just bringing together people who want to connect with each other.
Hi there, it's Deb Shell, and I am going to talk to you just a bit about email newsletters. If you've been thinking you need an email newsletter, you're probably right. If you've been in an online community, or you just want to grow your online business, communicating directly to your audience, it allows you to build relationships with them one email at a time. You might think you don't have enough time, but I have some great news for you. ConvertKit can help you ConvertKit can help you start building an email list with easy to set up templates, immediate analytics, and you can start for free. There's a 14-day trial, and once you get set up, you can set up your sequences, your email sequences that ConvertKit actually templates for you, and let ConvertKit do the work. ConvertKit will offer everything you need to build a successful email marketing campaign. They also have digital products available that you can create and onboarding sequences for your community members. You'll get a 14-day trial of ConvertKit's creator plan, no credit cards required, when you use the show link notes. If you don't even want to set this up at all, I've also added this service to my business so that I can help you, and I've helped other community builders develop an email newsletter for their business. Sign up with ConvertKit. It's the only email marketing tool just for creators and connects directly to your Mighty Network. If you are on the Mighty Networks and you have a community, it is simple and easy to set up these integrations, and I can certainly help you with that as well. Just open up your podcast app, scroll down to the show notes, click on Start Emailing Today, and I'm excited to learn more about how you jump into email marketing this year. Now back to the show for more community building tips. What do you think helped you figure out that programming? What was is there, you don't have to give us all the secret sauce, but what was the thing that made it really, I'm sure that it was iterated over time, but what are the kind of the elements that you found that were really important versus things that maybe didn't seem as impactful later?
Yeah. And I'm an open book, by the way, Deb. I have no secret sauce. I have a lot of sauce, but it's not a secret. I'm very happy to share it. So one thing we realized early on, the first ever Startup Island trip in March 2016, we initially wanted to bring in a bunch of successful entrepreneurs to speak. And we reached out to a bunch. We reached out to the Gary Vaynerchuks and the Guy Kawasaki's of the world. Guy Kawasaki actually sent a really nice email responding to our cold outreach, just being supportive.
He's really nice.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's the community director, I think, over at Canva, their community
Canva
engagement over in Canva. Yeah.
And formerly chief evangelist at Apple.
Right.
And he has his own podcast. But someone got back to us and was like, sure, I'd love to come. My rate for something like this is $25,000.
Yeah.
So very quickly we were like, all right, we got to pivot. We're not bringing in these big name entrepreneurs, but we ended up getting some medium name entrepreneurs, some successful entrepreneurs to Skype in. They again wanted real money to be flown down and do an in-person live talk, but we figured let's have them Skype in. And again, I'm aging. This is 2016. Skype was
really the only way of communicating, but because Zoom wasn't really a thing back then.
Yeah. And so we structured the program largely around these Skype sessions. and they were the least engaging part of the trip. The one of the most engaging parts of the trip was when a student who we empowered to lead a workshop led a workshop on his experience building his startup while in school. And it was such a great conversation. It led to so many great conversations and so much learning, growth, and connection, because he was relatable, and he was still figuring it out. And his success was uncertain, right? Like his workshop was kind of like a vehicle for him in the process of figuring things out. And we've really leaned into that over the years. So we don't bring in speakers to Third Nature Summer Camp. We have facilitators. And the facilitators are there to create, to spark meaningful conversations. And they are subject matter experts, and they have achieved certain levels of success, and they have deep expertise. But their workshops and our programming as a whole is not about one person having all the answers and relaying those answers to the many. It's about one person asking the right questions to unlock the collective wisdom of the many. And to get people connecting with each other and going inward to better understand themselves and use that self-knowledge to design a life that is energizing, that is fulfilling, that is going to enable them to be happy and healthy, and successful given their unique definition of success. So it's very like our programming is very focused on peer-to-peer learning, and it's very experiential. And another really important thing is programming in free time. So like there's structured workshops and activities, but honestly, the free time is really where the magic happens. So again, as a community builder, I think it's about like nudging people in the right direction and creating the conditions necessary for authentic connection, and fostering the right environment for that connection to occur and then deepen and strengthen, and then trusting that people are going to use their free time to keep connecting. Again, if you've brought the right people together, and fostered the right energy, that welcoming, inclusive energy where people feel comfortable and empowered to be authentically self-expressed.
Do you think that your programming will change in the future? I'm sure that as you move through life, life phases change, obviously, and you might not want to travel as much or do this summer camp thing, or there might be seasonal changes in life that mean, okay, I'm not going to be able to be mobile right now for whatever reason. Do you think that you'll transition more to online things, or do you think you want to have a focus of in person?
I think we want to continue to have a focus on in person, because as the world moves more online, I think in-person experiences are going to become more and more valuable. And that's my approach, right? Like I think there are enough people out there who will always crave in-person experiences to support, I mean, not just Third Nature, but I think they're obviously, we're not the only ones doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and I've seen this play out, especially since COVID, as people are spending more and more time on their devices, on their phones, on Zoom, people seem less inclined to show up for virtual experiences. And again, this is like in our community, people
So
seem
you have the Friday call, which is virtual. So I think
yes,
you get a
yes,
good number of people showing up weekly to that. And you're
yeah,
doing the mix, which brings that diversity. So people that attend those Friday sessions, they're especially the ones that are in other countries, right? They're
hmm,
probably not going to be coming to summer camp,
yes,
at least
yes,
in the near future.
yeah,
But you're giving them an opportunity to connect. And I think that's what's really important to think about and that's why I wanted to bring you on the podcast and talk about this in the community, because a lot of the times we're talking about these online experiences and how can we grow and build online. But I think having that combination of both, yes, and helps because it develops. That's how I grew up in community, basically, because I
yeah,
very similar community structure location Indy was having events, and I ended up flying to Denver and meeting them, and then flying to Mexico and meeting them again in 2019. And so I think the combination of the virtual calls with the in-person experiences is what made me really participate and be a part of that group for so long and be their advocate as much as I was for
yeah.
so long.
Totally. And accessibility is really important to us. And not just accessibility, but like, well, this I think falls under the umbrella of accessibility. People are going to be more generally like, well, I'll put it this way. Usually before people sign up for summer camp, they want to come to conscious conversations. They want to like, before you commit uh, $840 to Third Nature Adult Summer Camp, spend an hour of your Friday. It won't cost you anything. Getting a taste and a feel for the community on Zoom through conscious conversations.
Yeah.
Um, and again, a lot of people will just be part of the conscious conversations community, and that's awesome. And like someone like you, Deb, we know people like Nancy and Romy and Gemma, and there are so many amazing people in the conscious conversations community who come to the reflection workshops, who come to some of our other virtual programs that we've done over the years, who I feel like I know really well and I feel really authentically, meaningfully connected to. And I've never met them in person. And that's amazing. And that's an amazing aspect of like the modern world that we live in. And again, for me and I think for the Third Nature community, I I think the live not necessarily, it doesn't have to be in person, but like the opportunity to connect with people in real time, to have a conversation is really important. So our programming is centered around that. It's centered around live experiences, virtual and in person. And the in-person element is really important to me because again, like I said earlier, um, as our world moves further into the digital world, as people spend more time in the digital world, I think maintaining those experiences in real life in the physical world, or giving people opportunities to connect in real life is going to increase in importance. I think it ties to like how we're wired, our primal nature.
Yeah.
This digital world is still very new. We're still figuring it out and navigating it together. Um, and and we will continue to do that. And I feel strongly that as humans, we would benefit from not losing sight of what comes more naturally to us, which is just connecting in real life,
Yeah.
which we've done for hundreds of thousands of years.
It also speaks to, just to circle back to business strategy, you're also offering multiple revenue streams for your business. So
Totally.
these, the paid workshops that you have throughout the year, and then the summer camp, and then the business, B2B projects
Mhm.
that you're working on. This is all kinds of different little revenue pockets that are helping support you throughout the year. So I think it's really important for people to understand, because a lot of people think, oh, well, if I have a program or a membership or whatever it is, that's where all my money is coming from. And I think that's it sometimes, but not typically. Most people I work with, their revenue is coming from very different
Yeah.
places.
Yeah. And I think just the one caveat with that is that they're all connected. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a fine line between like having multiple revenue streams, which I think is important, which I embrace, and spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
You don't want to spread yourself too thin, but as long as all these revenue streams are working together, like, people who show up for conscious conversations are more likely to show up for reflection workshops, are more likely to show up for summer camp, are more likely to refer us to their company for a custom experience. At, a lot of the custom workshops I do at company headquarters, people raise their hand and ask, hey, you mentioned that adult summer camp weekend or conscious conversations. How do I sign up for that? So it's all like there's a lot of cross pollination that happens between these programs. So I think that's important. Um, if there's too much separation between the different programs and revenue streams, you risk burnout, spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah, and having
And
that common line of purpose of
yeah,
the
yeah,
purpose and the mission that you're in each pocket of those places, you have that same vision for how the experience or the program is going to be and how it connects to your mission. And so I think that it's also helpful, because otherwise, if you didn't have that foundational aspect that roots you, I think that would make it easier for you to kind of float off into the space where a
yeah,
lot of my clients go of like, well, maybe I'll go over here and then maybe I'll go over here. And I'm like, well,
yeah,
let's come back to earth and like see where it makes sense for us to be right now. So I think that
yeah,
that's helpful, and connecting the dots and then like creating this kind of circle where the referrals are helping you bring more people into all of these different areas, I think is really a great way to build a community strategy that's going to keep bringing members and people
mhm,
and referrals. So I think
yeah,
I love all of these things. And I'm glad we talked about engagement today in a different way than a lot of people probably expect, because I think it's so important to talk about it in a different way. Because when
yeah,
you're talking about intentional communities, which most of the people, like if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably somebody who's building in some sort of intentional community or group or something. And I think we're not trying to replicate social media. We're really trying to create a unique place that's different, that it's a different
mhm,
experience. And so thanks for sharing your insights today, and joining us here on the podcast. And we will have information for you listeners to join the conscious conversations and all that fun stuff. Thanks for the Community Builders with Purpose members who joined us today live. And with that, we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us today. Bye.
thanks everyone.
For joining me on this episode of the Community Strategy Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following or subscribed wherever you listen. This helps me because I know you won't miss an episode, and it helps you because you will always get the episodes right away. This podcast is produced by myself, Deb Shell, independent owner of Find Calm Here. If you really enjoyed this episode, I am looking for some Apple Podcast reviews. I'm going to explain to you how to do that right now. First, if you go to your Apple Podcast and click on the circle with the 3 dots on the top right corner, then make sure you're following the show. Second, next click Go to Show and scroll down to where it says ratings and reviews. Then right above About, you will see a little square with a pencil. Next to the square, you'll see Write a Review. Make sure you save the review before closing out your screen. I would love if you could do that for me. If you don't want to say anything nice, then don't leave a review. I hope that you enjoy this podcast and this season, and I hope you're finding calm in any day, even today or tomorrow, any day, moment, even afternoon, today, Saturday at 4. Find calm until the next time. Take care. Bye.